You started life with about 100 more bones than you have right now. A newborn has roughly 300 bones. An adult has 206. Nothing was removed. Nothing was lost. They fused. Somewhere between your first cry and your 20th birthday, dozens of separate pieces of skeleton welded themselves together into single, solid bones. Why would evolution build a body that starts broken into pieces, only to glue itself whole later? The answer starts with a problem every human mother faces, and no other primate faces quite the same way. Human babies have enormous heads. Human mothers have narrow hips. Anthropologists call this the obstetrical dilemma. Walking upright on two legs narrowed the human pelvis. Growing bigger brains widened the human skull. Something had to give. The skull gave. A newborn skull is not one solid dome. It's several separate plates, connected by soft, flexible seams called sutures. During birth, those plates slide and overlap, letting the head compress just enough to fit through the birth canal. Doctors call this molding. You can sometimes see it in the first hours after birth. A newborn's head looks slightly cone-shaped before it settles. Without those unfused plates, human birth as we know it might not be survivable. But the skull is only part of the story. Look at your wrist. An adult wrist has 8 small carpal bones. A newborn's wrist is mostly cartilage, with those bones barely started, some not even visible on an X-ray until age 1 or 2. Look at your pelvis. It starts as 3 separate bones on each side, the ilium, ischium, and pubis, and doesn't fully fuse into one solid hip bone until somewhere around age 15 to 25. Look at the long bones in your arms and legs. Each one has growth plates at the ends, made of cartilage, quietly adding length year after year until they finally seal shut in your 20s. This is why a doctor can look at an X-ray of a hand and estimate a child's age within a year or 2. The pattern of which bones have fused and which haven't works almost like a clock. Forensic anthropologists use exactly this method to determine the age of unidentified remains. Researchers like Wilton Krogman built entire reference atlases in the 20th century, tracking the average fusion age for nearly every joint in the human body. So why keep bones separate for so long, when a single solid skeleton would seem stronger? Because a body built entirely of solid, fused bone couldn't grow. Cartilage is soft. Cartilage can be added to. Bone cannot easily expand once it's fully hardened. By keeping key junctions open, the skull sutures, the growth plates, the pelvic joints, the human body buys itself 2 decades of construction time. Every growth spurt you ever had ran through cartilage that hadn't fused yet. The moment those growth plates seal, growth stops. Permanently. That's why doctors can use a single X-ray of a teenager's wrist to predict, almost to the inch, how much taller they'll ever get. There's an emotional side to this too. Newborn skull bones are so unfused, so soft, that a baby's head can be gently misshapen just from sleeping position, and it will reshape itself over months without any harm at all. Nature designed the most vulnerable stage of human life around flexibility, not strength. Strength came later. Strength was earned. By your mid-20s, almost every one of those separate pieces has locked into place. The wrist bones have solidified. The pelvis has fused into one continuous arch. The last growth plates in your collarbone, the very last bone in the body to finish fusing, have finally sealed shut, often not until age 25. Which means, for a significant stretch of your 20s, some part of you is still technically, skeletally, unfinished. You spend nearly a quarter of a century becoming solid. So the next time you look at an X-ray or watch a newborn's soft, misshapen head slowly round out over its first year, remember what you're really looking at. Not a flaw. Not a work in progress that failed to finish. A body deliberately built broken, on purpose, so it could survive being born, and then spend 2 decades quietly welding itself into the shape that will carry you for the rest of your life.